We're going to turn now back to this. You heard, if you were watching along with us right here on 11 Alive Plus, our live interview with Congressman Mike Collins. He's a Republican running for U.S. Senate. He has competition in that U.S. Senate race from several other serious contenders, one of whom is fellow Republican Congressman Buddy Carter, representing Georgia's coastline in the 1st Congressional District. We spoke with Congressman Carter earlier today. Here's part of that interview. Should the United States have gone to war against Iran?
No question about it. Look, I would submit to you that this president is saving millions of lives in the future by making sure that Iran never has a nuclear bomb. Iran has been the leading state sponsor of terrorism for the last 47 years. This is not something that just started. This has been going on for a long, long time. And I applaud this president for having the courage, the initiative to do something about it. And I hope that we will finish the drill, and I suspect he will. Finish the drill and make sure that we neutralize this terrorist regime that has caused so many problems over the world. Let's keep in mind that they have American blood on their hands. Yes, the USS Cole. Yes, October 7th, where over 1,000 Israelites were killed, but also 46 Americans were killed. Let's not forget all the Americans that this regime has killed over the years.
You said in your response there, you said you hope that the president finishes the drill. What does that look like specifically for you? Does it include putting American boots on the ground in Iran?
None of us want to see American boots on the ground. The president doesn't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't know of anyone who wants to see it. But at the same time, what does it look like to end it? It looks like when Iran will not have a nuclear bomb, when we're sure that they have no ambitions and that they have no ability to have a nuclear bomb, then I think it's over with.
Is there a way, in your view, to be assured that Iran does not have future nuclear ambitions if the current regime is still in place?
Well, that remains to be seen. Certainly, the president is willing to work with the current regime to see if we can achieve that goal. But if we can't, then they're just going to have a new regime. That's all there is to it. Look, we cannot let this go on. We're talking about millions of lives in the future. Can you imagine if Iran had a nuclear bomb? Can you imagine? I mean, the leading state sponsor of terrorism in the world for the last 47 years. Don't forget who has been financing Hamas and Hezbollah and all of the terrorist groups. It's been Iran.
Let's talk about the question of affordability. It has been at the center of the campaign cycle, not just for the U.S. Senate contest, but just about every campaign on the ballot right now. To people in Georgia who are struggling, making ends meet, what would you do to lower the cost of living in Georgia and across the country if you're elected to the U.S. Senate?
Well, what we've already done is pass the Working Families Tax Cut Act, which is going to put more money in people's pockets. And remember, in 2024, Donald Trump campaigned on two major issues, one being to make sure that we're more prosperous and make sure that we're safer. I would submit to you that he has done both, making sure we're safer by securing our borders, making sure that we're more prosperous by passing the Working Families Tax Cut Act, no tax on tips, on overtime, on Social Security, increased child care tax credit. This has saved over $5,000 for the average Georgia family, and that's significant. That puts more money in your pocket. The IRS has already told us that the average refund, the average tax refund, is over 11% of what it was last year. That's significant. What we're doing is putting more money in people's pockets to make sure that life is more affordable.
You brought up the topic of securing America's borders. Immigration has been another center point of the political discourse in our country for a number of years now, as it continues to be at the center of this campaign cycle. I want to ask you this. This is a question we get from folks here as well, so I want to pose it to you. Do you support a legal pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants who have no criminal record?
We are a nation of law and order. These people who came into this country illegally broke the law. We teach our children that actions have consequences, and there must be consequences for breaking the law. Now, look, right now, ICE is getting a bad reputation because this administration, rightfully so, has decided to try to get rid of the criminal illegal immigrants first. Those are the ones that have to go. The ones who killed Laken Riley, the one who killed a beloved teacher in my hometown of Savannah, Georgia, Dr. Linda Davis, as he was fleeing ICE and resisting arrest. Those are the people we're trying to get rid of first. Now, we'll deal with the others later, yes. And yes, they did break the law when they came into this country illegally. So they're going to have a price to pay. There's no question about that.
And specifically, what would that price to pay be in your view? Is it your position that every person who crossed the border without proper documentation should be deported?
Yes, they should be. And yes, there should be a pathway to come to this country. I agree with that. Look, we're the most welcoming country in the world. No one takes in more people from other countries than we do in America. So when I hear this about, oh, you don't want people coming in, nothing can be further from the truth. Yes, we do. We just want them to do it the right way and to follow our laws.
Congressman, I think it's a fair assessment to say that you have allied yourself closely with President Donald Trump, both in interviews like this one and in your campaign material, your commercials that are up on air. I want to ask you this. Is there anything you disagree with President Trump on?
Well, look, I agree with President Trump. I've got a 100% voting record with him. There have been times that I've had to go to leadership and represent my district, and I will always do that. And when I'm elected to the Senate, I'll make sure that I'm representing my state. Two examples, I had to, at one point, go to the leadership to get funding for our blueberry farmers who had a late freeze. That was very important. We were successful in doing that. Also in Savannah, we have Hunter Army Airfield. We've got some hangars out there that are pre-World War II that are just atrocious. I needed to get some of those replaced, and we were able to do that and get the funding for that. I agree with President Trump. I tell you who I don't agree with, and that is Jon Ossoff and the Democrats. Those are the ones that I don't agree with.
And Congressman, just to follow up there, you said there have been times where you had to go to leadership and express some disagreement with leadership, but specifically with President Trump. Has there been anything you've disagreed with him specifically on?
I agree with President Trump. I think he's got the right policies that he's trying to bring our country back to make it more safer and make it more prosperous. And that's what we want to do, and that's what I intend to do. That's why I'm asking for your vote to go to the United States Senate to support President Trump and his America First policies.
So no points of disagreement at all between you and the president?
At this point, I can't point to any. My disagreements are with Jon Ossoff and his voting record. The fact that he has voted 7 times not to fund the Department of Homeland Security. Let's talk about what's going on right now. We've been talking about the Iran war, the conflict over there. At no time do we needed DHS more than we need them there. It would be naive of us to think that they are not thinking and trying to disrupt us over here. Yes, they are. That's why we need DHS. Also, remember that FEMA is under DHS. Right now, we've got wildfires raging in South Georgia. We need FEMA. Jon Ossoff could care less about Georgians. He could care less about keeping us safe.